Anytime I ask someone what their favorite fight is in Naruto, the answer is usually Rock Lee versus Gaara. Now I'm only talking about fights from the original series because I haven't had a chance to watch Shippudden yet, so please, spoil it for me in the comments. The only other memorable fights in the original series are the final fight between Naruto and Sasuke, and one of my personal favorites, the fight with Kimimaro. But I'm not talking about any of those other fights today. It's just Lee versus Gaara. And what makes that one of the most memorable fights in the series is how they introduce both characters. See, Gaara and Rock Lee are introduced in both subtle and distinctive ways. They show us just enough to get us excited for their eventual fight in the tuning exams. Now for people that have no idea about the tuning exams, they're broken up into 3 parts, but I'm only talking about the last 2 parts. The second part takes place in the Forest of Death, and the final part is one-on-one matches between the ninja that make it through the second phase. Now you're all caught up. It's very subtle, but the way they introduce both Gaara and Rock Lee is by besting Sasuke in different ways. Gaara sneaks past Sasuke without even making a sound, and Lee beats his ass before the tuning exams even start. And remember that Sasuke is built up to be one of the strongest genin in the show up to this point. These ways of barely introducing the characters leaves us wanting to see more from each fighter, and the showrunners know that. They thankfully don't make us wait much longer before we see what each fighter is truly capable of in the second part of the tuning exams. We'll start with Gaara's fight against the ninja from the Wind Village. It's more of a slaughter if you ask me. We see that Gaara's sand acts as a defensive mechanism on its own against the Senbomb Rainstorm, and then he uses that same sand to wrap up and crush the 3 Wind Ninjas. They build him up as this untouchable force that shows no mercy and is out for blood, an unbeatable villain. On the other side of the forest, we see that Lee is fighting to protect Sakura against the Sound Village Ninja. We see that Lee lives by a code where he will protect anyone that is special to him with all his might. He is willing to protect Sakura's life, even though she's technically his opponent during this part of the tuning exams, and he just met her. He uses the primary lotus on Dosu, but it's ineffective due to the other Sound Ninja stepping in. We find out that using the lotus puts a huge strain on Lee's body, which practically makes him defenseless, and he's bested by Dosu. Lee is built up as someone who will never quit fighting for what he believes in, and he's kind of like Naruto in that sense, an imperfect but dedicated hero. When you analyze these 2 characters' introductions into the show, it only makes sense that they end up fighting in the 3rd round. I was first introduced to Naruto when it originally aired on Toonami, and when I saw this fight, I knew this was some of the best action that this show had to offer. Even before the fight starts, they make Lee's entrance into the fighting ring stand out. The 2D animation is rendered in a 3D space for one of the first times in the series, and it's one of the main reasons why this fight stands out so much. We know that Gaara's sand has never been penetrated before, but Lee doesn't know that, and he spends the first minute of the fight figuring that out. God, the 3D adds so much to this fight. Just look at this. Once Lee figures out that he can't get past Gaara's sand, his sensei gives him the go-ahead to, well, I'll let you watch it.
All right, Lee, take him off.
But Guy Sensei, you said that was only as a last resort when the lives of very important people were at stake.
That's right, I did. But this is an exception.
Really? Really? That is better. Now I will be able to move freely.
Come on, you really think you'll be able to get through Gaara's defenses just by dropping a couple of pounds of weight?
Oh shit, it's about to go down. Lee is lightning fast once he takes the weights off, and he finally gets through Gaara's defenses and lands a blow on him. This shifts the dynamic that Gaara is untouchable, and now it's anyone's fight. Once Gaara gets knocked off his feet, we see that none of Lee's attacks actually mattered, because Gaara was using his sand as a shield that he encased himself in. Knowing that just punching away isn't going to win him the fight, so Lee goes to use the primary lotus on him. Lee kicks Gaara up into the air, but he doesn't float like Sasuke or Dosu because he has all the sand weighing him down. It's only a small detail, but that means Lee has to use a series of kicks to knock Gaara up past his sand. Lee finally wraps Gaara up and unleashes the primary lotus on him, resulting in the destruction of almost half the arena. We see Gaara, broken and motionless, laying in the crater, thinking that Lee just won the fight. But once the sand starts to crumble, Gaara was not even in it. Since Lee exerted so much energy when he was kicking Gaara into the air, he actually winced in pain. And Gaara took that single moment and banished into his sand. Gaara reappears from his sand, and Lee has to go on the defensive because he pushed his body to the absolute limit using the primary lotus. This episode serves as a flashback, and it shows that Lee really didn't have anything going right for him in the Ninja Academy. He couldn't use ninjutsu or genjutsu, and he was made fun of relentlessly for it. If it wasn't for Guy Sensei taking Lee under his wing, Lee wouldn't be a ninja at all. This match means everything to Lee, and he wants to prove himself to everyone at any cost. So he uses his ultimate technique, the Hidden Lotus. The Hidden Lotus uses the 8 inner gates in the body to open up the full potential of your chakra in Naruto. With the primary lotus only opening up the first gate and the amount of stress that put on the body, Lee is willing to use everything he has to win this fight. He is that determined to prove himself. This episode ends with Lee opening up the 3rd gate, and now it's his last chance to beat Gaara. Lee goes full Super Saiyan by opening up the 4th gate before he goes on the attack, and when he does, he devastates Gaara's sand shield like it was nothing. He knocks Gaara into the air and beats him around like he was a pinball. He devastates him with each punch, but at the same time, Lee's muscles are tearing themselves apart. Lee is moving so fast that he vanishes and lands a gut-busting punch on Gaara that should have devastated him. Then for Lee's final move, he grabs Gaara by the waist strap and performs his finishing attack, the Hidden Lotus. Everything happened so fast that it looked like a blink of an eye to everyone, except for Kakashi and Guy, who saw that Gaara's gourd turned to sand right at the last second to cushion his fall. Lee is absolutely done at this point and can barely move, let alone defend himself against Gaara's retaliation. Gaara is still able to move after all those devastating attacks, and he encases Lee's arm and leg in sand and crushes them using the sand coffin. Gaara is just about to kill Lee when Guy intervenes and ends the match right there. Right before the match is officially called, Lee is actually still standing even though he's completely unconscious. This is what makes this the defining moment of the tuning exams for me. From sheer willpower alone, Lee is still standing, determined to prove himself. Now the only part that really irks me about this fight is that Gaara shouldn't be standing at all. After all those devastating blows that Lee performed on him, he should not even be able to move, let alone get up and walk away. It's actually not even that big of a deal, it's just really the only part that gets to me. This fight between Lee and Gaara embodies everything I love about Naruto and just anime in general. The fights are spectacles of outrageous action, and just when you think it couldn't top the last part, it goes and does something even more outrageous. Not only was Lee versus Gaara an amazing fight, the build-up really helped it remain memorable to people. They make a person that looks unbeatable look mortal, and they show that the underdog shouldn't have been doubted for a second. This fight may only be 3 episodes long, but those 3 episodes contain one of the most memorable fights in all of anime. Guys, thank you so much for making it this far. This is my first video back from a long hiatus when I just really didn't know what I wanted to do with YouTube. I finally have some topics that I really want to talk about, and I wanted to just make this a full production with the green screen and the lights and everything. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Goodbye.